I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Friday, May the 9th, brought to you in part by Fairpiece, that revolutionary product that is scientifically proven. Address the stress in your cattle. I think by now we've established that Fairpiece should be given any time your cattle are exposed to stress. I'm looking forward to going down to College Station, Texas here in the next week or so to do an interview with Dr. Rodrigo, which I will share with you guys, and we'll learn more about this product. But for more information, go to fairpiece.com. Also, Unionville Livestock Market in north central Missouri and Creston Livestock Market in south central Iowa. Both of them are going jennies right now, guys. Unionville, of course, recently had the all-time record highs that we'll probably never break, but Unionville's got another calf and yearling special sale coming up Tuesday, May the 13th, and then they're going to have a big consignment machinery auction there at the cattle auction on Saturday, May the 24th, so check both those out. Now up at Creston Livestock Market in Creston, Iowa, they've got a regular sale here today on Friday, May the 9th, and then a big special back to grass calf and yearling sale coming up Wednesday, May the 14th. Got a lot of impressive consignments, including the Justin Peterson consignment of 450 head of black yearling heifers weighing 7.5 to 8.5. The condition will be right, guys. Jordan Perrin's got 90 head of red Angus steers and heifers weighing 600 to 700 pounds, long time weaned, super high quality, fancy there. And BC cattle will have 80 head of black steers weighing 6 to 6.5, also long time weaned, and then many more smaller consignments to help make up that back to grass calf and yearling special sale there at Creston Livestock. You can view and bid both of those sales at DVAuction.com. White smoke. Now on Thursday afternoon, it was big doings, guys. We had huge crowds, people from all over the world gathered up, and they were cheering in anticipation. And then sure enough, they got the white smoke signal, and then we had $300 feeder cattle. It was amazing. First on CME feeder cattle futures, and for spring they eclipsed the $300 level. And then for your cash market, your real-time index from DV Auction, that's a 7-day moving average from 7 to 899 pound feeder steers up through your middle 12 states, just like your CME cash feeder cattle index, except that it's up to date and current. It eclipsed the $300 mark there also early on Thursday afternoon. So big time doings there, and that $300 mark is probably more impressive than the $200 fat cattle mark that we reached several months ago. But very impressive there on your cattle market. At almost exactly the same time, the world also got a new pope, and it was the first U.S. born pope, and I don't think it's a coincidence that that pope is from Chicago, Illinois, right there where we received the first $300 market there on your CME feeder cattle futures. But earlier in the day, our great President Trump announced his first big trade deal in response to the tariffs that he announced here about a month ago. And the first big trade deal of many is with the United Kingdom, Britain there, and it is going to be an impressive deal there, and they gave all the specifics to it. But particularly it's going to be helping the ag sector. There's going to be billions of dollars of increased access for American beef, ethanol, and all sorts of ag products there that the Brits are going to be needing there. So we're excited about that. But man, did we have active markets on Thursday. It wasn't a big auction day. We didn't have a lot of big high volume sales, but we're kind of waning down here as we're getting closer to Memorial Day, and we've talked about that. But just impressive markets all over, and on Thursday, and also for the last couple of weeks when we've been reaching these really impressive quotes on our feeder cattle. The Midwest, Southern Plains, and even the Southeast have been outselling the Northern Plains that normally establish these all-time high quotes. So I'm sure they'll have their day as we get to this summer and they have their big summer specials. But so far, the other guys have been outselling them. Let's look at your board on Thursday. June live cattle futures up 172 at 214 and a quarter. August was up 162 at 210 flat. Now your back months on live cattle up 92 cents to up 142. Very impressive day on your live cattle futures. May feeder cattle up 302 to 297.47. Now, evidently, they were thinking that they were getting back behind your index levels, but they had to have been eyeing the real-time index from DVAuction because the CME cash feeder cattle index is lagging behind that. But it was impressive to see May feeder cattle get up to 297.47. August feeder cattle up 265 to 301 and a quarter. And that was the first time that we hit $300 was on August feeder cattle, and very, very stout market there on your feeder cattle futures. Your back months were up 202 to up 302, so big gains throughout. Look at your grains. July corn down 1 3/4 cents at 447.5. July beans up 5 3/4 cents at 10.45 a bushel, and hard red winter wheat for July down 4 3/4 cents at 524 3/4. Now your fat cattle trade had a little bit more activity on Thursday, but we still got a lot of work to do, guys. We had a big movement last week, looking for another big movement this week, but they have not quite seen it yet. Expecting a big movement here on Friday, and it's going to be at a lot higher prices, guys. Iowa sold 6,800 on Thursday. They sold 8,300 for the week. Live prices in Iowa for fat steers and heifers range from $224 to $228. That is $2 to $4 higher. Very impressive. And your dress market in Iowa from $355 to $360. That is $5 to $10 higher than last week. Nebraska sold 12,500 head before the 2 o'clock deadline to turn information in on Thursday afternoon. They sold 14,800 so far this week. Live prices in Nebraska similar to Iowa from $225 to $228 and $355 to $360. Now Kansas and Texas, they jumped the gun a little bit of basis jumping there, but they did sell higher than a week ago. But a little bit more cleanup trade in Kansas. They sold 200 head on Thursday. They've sold 7,500 for the week. But the only price on Thursday was $220, and that was $2 higher than last week. Texas sold 600 head on Thursday, and they've sold 10,600 head for the week, and that is a huge movement for Texas. Texas feedlots are mostly big corporates that have sweetheart formula deals with your packers, so there's not a lot of cattle in loose hands. But in Texas on Thursday, they sold cattle from $219 to $220. Did have a couple of fat cattle auctions that's worth noting there. They were both in Iowa. Kelowna Livestock in Kelowna, Iowa had 600 head of slaughter cattle. Fat cattle sold from $218 up to $235, from $3.50 to $4 higher. They did have dairy steers from $189.50 to $206. Very impressive there in Kelowna. Another fat cattle auction market there in Iowa was Sheldon Livestock. In Sheldon, Iowa, they had 400 head there. Conventional fed cattle from $221 to $232, and the program cattle traded within that range from $224.5 to $230. Box beef cutout values gained ground again on your choice cuts. Choice cutouts were up 174 at $347.89, which still sounds pretty cheap, being that they're buying dressed steers at $360 and dressed box beef cutout values under $348. But selects were down 80 cents at $333.20. Your slaughter up through the first 4 days of the week, 469,000 estimated cattle slaughter. That's 4,000 more than this point last week and 16,000 less than this point the same week a year ago. Your actual slaughter information come back for the week ending April the 26th. Had your average dressed steer carcass weight at 946 pounds. Talk about what else is going on. Livestock Risk Services. Of course, that's Dakota Moss there, who offices in the Exchange Building at the Oklahoma National Stockyards in Oklahoma City. Him and all of these agents that are listed here can absolutely help you. They are the LRP specialists. And guys, if these prices haven't got lofty enough to make you want to protect yourself, I don't know what is. But you've got to get in there and protect yourself. Sure, it costs something. It might cost $10 to $12 a hundred to get the full brunt of the market, but you're going to get a little bit of help from the federal government to pay part of that premium. And man, you're going to rest easy all summer knowing what your cattle are going to bring. But call them and check out your different options there at livestockriskservices.com. Let's talk about your feeder cattle market, brought to you by Specialty Risk Insurance. They are working to protect your livelihood. Your real-time index that I mentioned earlier in the day, first time ever, went over $300. And I saw it as high as $300.20. It may have been a little bit higher than that. Of course, it's always up to date and current, and as fast as you refresh your computer, you can find out what that is as prices are coming in from sale barns all over the mid part of the country there. But $300.10 is where it rested there after your sales had ended on Thursday. That was up $1.06. Your latest CME cash feeder cattle index lagging behind at 295.78. Talk about your big sales, and we didn't have a lot of big sales on Thursday. And like I said, the cattle are getting all turned out. We don't have a lot of cattle, and as we go forward, especially after Memorial Day, the only time we'll see big runs is whenever we have auctions that have big advertised specials that they have every year, and we'll see some big prices when those come around. But your regular weekly sales are not going to have a lot in them. But the most impressive sale I saw on Thursday was Lamoni Livestock Auction in Lamoni, Iowa. There they had 1,700 head. The market was sharply higher, no doubt there. They were your NationalBeefWire stick-out sale of the day. Check out this automated market report through Cattle Market Central. Look at your best tested weights. How about 112 head of 5-weight steers that averaged 559 with a weighted average price on all of them of $391.08. Wow. How about 223 head of 7-weight steers in Lamoni, 714 pounds on the average with a weighted average price of $342.11. And then 129 head of 8-weight steers averaged 851 pounds with a weighted average price on them of $302.20. All of those helped your real-time index eclipse $300. How about the heifers? 210 head of 5-weight heifers averaged 550 pounds in Lamoni, Iowa. They had a weighted average price of $366.17, and 134 head of 6-weight heifers averaged 659 and averaged $317.31. Several individual quotes I want to give you from all around the circuit. How about Mitchell Livestock Marketing in Mitchell, South Dakota? Another DVAuction broadcaster there. 51 head, weighed 625 and bring 376. Very impressive. How about Bighorn Basin Livestock Auction in Worland, Wyoming? 92 head, 540 pound steers bring 426.60. Whoa, that is a big time price there in a dry area of Wyoming, guys. How about Winter Livestock in Pratt, Kansas? 69 steers weighed 907, over 900 pounds, and bring $300.50. Impressive quote there. Another impressive quote from our NationalBeefWire stick-out sale today. Lamoni Livestock Auction, Lamoni, Iowa, sold 63 steers weighed 833 and bring $315. But the most impressive quote that I saw anywhere on Thursday in your Macrocin, no BS, top quote for the day, come out of Kentucky. And this is as big a quote as I've ever give. It's as big as those 330 steers weighing over 8.5 at Unionville last week. But Bluegrass Stockyard South in Stanford, Kentucky sells 70 steers through the ring there. They weighed 633 and bring $383.10. And that's your feeder flash for Friday.